Now let's change gears. Let's talk about hype. There's so much hype in this industry right now and all over about certain things. And I want to talk about ways that we can convert maybe some of those hype ideas into some helpful ideas for you. Let's talk about AI. There's a lot of hype, like you got to use AI. You're going to, 10x your sales. Use AI. Use AI. AI is not new, and I've been around it for quite a long time. The idea that's preached and the hype is get your salespeople out of the selling trenches and let AI do all the dirty work for you. There are a lot of platforms that are trying to really hype up the power of auto texting. You're just going to auto text everyone, and you're going to create conversations with AI that are going to text a human back. If I might share a little bit of insight, I've worked with a lot of groups and talked to a lot of brands who have tried this and have stopped doing it. A lot of those tools, they don't give you access to see the dialogue between the AI engine and your consumer. How scary is that in a highly regulated process like FranDev? Don't recommend it. But more importantly, the conversation, it doesn't matter how good the AI is, after 2 or 3 iterations of back and forth, the nuances in our dialogue with humans, things like tone, things like sarcasm, like AI doesn't do well with those things in colloquialisms. And so what happens is usually after 2 or 3 iterations, that'll start to break down a little bit, and it's obvious to the consumer that they're chatting with a bot. Even if the bot tells them that they're a bot at the beginning, they get a little fatigued, and it creates disinterest, distrust emotionally, because texting is a personal medium. So advice to you, hopefully this is helpful, is you leverage AI where it's not going to break your social contracts with your consumers, with your candidates, with your clients. And what I mean by a social contract is they're like these unwritten rules, right? You don't send a 17-paragraph text message to someone unless maybe you've been drinking a lot and you're breaking up, right? It's not normal to send messages like that. But it's also not normal to send messages that are a little bit eerie and they don't quite connect, and you can tell the person's not understanding you well. Like that's a personal medium, so you don't use a personal medium for impersonal communication. And that's where I see a lot of people going wrong with trying to use AI. But AI is super powerful. It's helpful. It's great at content generation. It's great at other things. So we got to leverage it, because we can't hide under a rock, right? But we want to make sure that you're not leveraging AI in a way that's turning away or turning off savvy, high net value buyers. It's expensive to get FranDev leads. It's expensive to get consumer leads. So make sure you're being careful about how much you buy into the hype versus engaging with the leads properly. So let's talk about this one. And I was just recently called out about this in a panel discussion, which caught me off guard. But I hear people in this industry still say, yeah, call everyone within 4 hours. It'll be fine. Yeah, your candidates, if they want to talk to you, they'll call you back. Things like that, that's like 1984 garbage. Like, by the way, not true. You can sell still a lot of franchises, but there's a reason why the industry data shows a 1%, barely over 1% close rate. That's low in any industry. And part of it is because we're operating on an old playbook that doesn't really work well. Let's talk about what the consumers actually expect. And if you think about yourself, you'll hopefully nod your head and agree, you need to still be the first person to have a meaningful conversation. If you're buying portal leads, it's a highly competitive landscape. Also anticipate a lot of your smart franchise buyers are going to probably look at a couple of concepts. They're not always looking at 10 concepts. If you're going to get your porch rebuilt, you might get 3 to 5 bids. They're not all doing that, but they're looking at the savvy ones have already looked at a lot of concepts. They're comparing you to other things they're looking at. So you've got to be first to have meaningful conversations. And here, I'll share more details with you down the road, but there are sequences that will help you to engage these people. And I've seen people 3x, 4x their FranDev sales, their franchise award rate, following the proper playbook. So that's data. It's not hype. It's I don't want to shift to the left column here, but we'll talk more about that in a minute. There's also a lot of people putting their head in the sand right now about what's going on with the economy. I mentioned just some basic numbers, about 30 to 40% lead volumes are down everywhere. FranDev, consumer, the only thing that's not down is luxury goods. They're flat, but that's because guys like Jeff Bezos don't care. They'll go they'll preach about, never mind, but they don't care. They'll buy whatever they want, whenever they want. But it's the majority of the economy that's struggling right now. The middle class, upper middle class, lower class, they're all struggling, and that's a lot of the people you're trying to get to buy your services. So let's talk a little bit about how do we, if we keep doing everything the same way we've done it, what's going to happen is you're going to lose market share. You've got to adapt, and I'll share some insights about this in later on. But if you're not adapting, you're not measuring, you're not observing, you're not testing, you're not trying new things, you're not adjusting your strategy, you're not adjusting your how you're getting leads, you're not adjusting your sales follow-up process, your team structure, your tech stack right now, then you will ride that wave of a 30% decline, and you'll probably end up complaining to your leadership team about it. But there are ways to maneuver around it. When the economy drops, it's the best time to gain market share, and I'll share some insights with you about that.